In this video, we're going to look at some of our vocabulary for Unit 5. Our first vocab word is proportional. Having a constant, unchanging ratio to another quantity. We have a couple ways that we can check to see if ratios are proportional. So let's look at, in this video, we're going to look at some of the vocabulary used in Unit 5. Our first word is proportional. Having a constant, unchanging ratio to another quantity. So looking at two ratios, in this video, we're going to look at some of the vocabulary in Unit 5. Our first vocab word is proportional. Having a constant, unchanging ratio to another quantity. So if I'm looking at two ratios here, we have 3 to 5, and we're comparing it 6 to 10. We have a couple different ways that we can check. We could find their unit rates and compare their unit rates. In some instances, we can look at the relationship across. So 3 times 2 is 6. If 5 times 2 is 10, then that does show a proportional relationship. Now, sometimes this number isn't going to be a nice whole number. It could be a decimal or something not super friendly to work with. So another way we could check is by cross multiplying. If I multiply across 6 times 5, we get 30. If 3 times 10 is also 30, which it is, then we do have a proportional relationship. Our next word is quantity. Quantity is the amount or value expressed as a number. So the quantity of marbles in this jar is, and if you count them all up, 12. Our next vocab word is coordinate plane, which is a graph. A number line with two dimensions. X is horizontal, you can think like the horizon, and Y is vertical, going up and down. They intersect at 0, 0, which is also known as our origin, which is here somewhere. So one trick I used to think, for the x-axis, I used to think like I'd close it to remind myself that the x-axis is horizontal. And for the y-axis, I used to draw a y and I'd give it a really long tail to remind myself that it was vertical. In our graph, we have 4 quadrants. We have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and they're written with Roman numerals, and quadrant 4, or 1 before 5. I used to try to remember that all my positive numbers, my quadrant 1, I would think like a big C. So I'd start my C and it would wrap around to remind me that 1, 2, 3, 4. Constant of proportionality is another name for unit rate. It's found by setting up the ratio K, Y divided by X. So given the ordered pair 2, 4, we know our ordered pairs are given X, Y. So from this proportional relationship, we could find K. So we know K equals Y divided by X. Well, 4 is my Y, so I would have 4 divided by X is my 2, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my unit rate, or K, or my constant of proportionality for this example would be 2. Table or table of values. Graph is a diagram or representation showing the relationship between two quantities. In 7th grade, we're looking at 2 quantities. So in this graph, our X is time and our Y is water. Our water is dependent on our independent variables. So we could, for any amount of time, the water usage is going to depend on how much time has passed. So in this example, we can see 2, 10, meaning 2 minutes, 10 gallons of water were used. An equation is a math statement that shows the value of 2 expressions are equal. I used to remind myself equation had an equal sign because it almost has the word equal hidden in it. So an example of an equation, y equals 9x, or 4 plus w equals 10. 9 times h equals t. Expression does not have an equal sign. I used to remind myself X, I would think it was crossing off the equal sign. So it's a math phrase. It's like an incomplete sentence. It can have numbers, 1, -4, half, 0.5. It can have variables, which are letters that represent numbers, and then operators, like our plus, minus, multiplying, and dividing. So some examples of expressions here. Again, it does not have it's not balanced. It doesn't have the other side. It doesn't have the answer, the equal. Coefficient is a quantity or number placed before multiplying the variable in an expression. So if I had 3f, in this case, the 3 is the coefficient, and it means that I have f 3 times. I have f plus f plus f, or 3 times f. If a coefficient and a variable are touching, it means they're being multiplied. And then our last word, variable, a quantity represented by a letter that may change. So in this case, again, let's look at 3f. F would be, move myself out of the way, f would be my variable. So let's say they gave me what f equals. If they told me f equals 2, then I would plug that 2 in where the f is. So 3f would mean 3 times 2, or 6. And these are some of the vocab words used in Unit 5.